Hey, everybody, it's Maria from What's the Story with Maria. How's it going? Welcome to our show. Tonight is Tuesday, July 23rd. I am coming to you live from Cliffside Park, New Jersey. I'm at Judy's tonight, and we have an amazing guest. So, Leo, run that promo, buddy.
Yeah, I'm a big fish in a small pond. Days free and my nights long. I create my own reality. Who I am is right with me. I'm as famous, I'm as famous as I wanna be. Who I am is fine with me. It's who I am. It's who I am.
So, welcome back. Yep, it's Tuesday, so that means it's What's the Story with Maria night, my favorite night of the week. And our guest tonight is my dear, 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 lovely, beautiful friend and coworker, Christopher Root Hines. We work together at Road Recovery, which is a company that, a nonprofit that we work for with musicians that have battled their own adversaries, help kids to overcome theirs. And it's a great, beautiful kind of yes, thank you, Leo, empowering youth towards positive change. And there's a lot of famous musicians that are part of what we do, that contribute with studio time, contribute grants. I know the Billy Joel Foundation, the Joel Foundation, actually, they donate to us, and the Justice Department does. So thank you to the Justice Department, the United States Justice Department. Thank you, Joe Biden. A lot of great, great, great stuff happens. And Road Recovery is a great nonprofit. Of course, you are always welcome to go check it out. And if you want to donate, you can donate. That is your call. But a lot of great companies donate to us, and it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And I get to do it a couple times a week with my beautiful friend Christopher Root Hines, and he's an amazing musician. And I can't wait to have him on. I've wanted to have him on for a long time, but things just fell into place this week, so it's working out. So today is Thursday, July 23rd. We're in the middle of a dead heat. This has been, I think, the hottest summer that I can remember in a long, long, long time. I don't remember summers being this hot when I was a kid, and I was the kind of kid that was always outside, always, always outside. Wait a minute. And I was just going to say we used to have cookouts and things of that nature. Leo.
You said hot, right? You said hot. That's what I heard.
I did say hot. And so, speaking of hot, we have a calendar called the Nothing But the Apron calendar, and all our guests that are in our calendars wear nothing but the apron. And so Chuck McKinney is our friend. He is a real estate agent, amazing guy, cyclist. This guy, talk about raising money for charity. He raises a lot of money for charity on his bike. So he's always volunteering and doing these long, long rides. And actually, he also, I believe, went to the center, had a big fundraiser a couple of months ago, and he was part of that as well. So we're all kind of connected, and he works at the duplex where I work. And Gene Simpson Dunn says, too hot. I know, Gene. Chuck is in great shape. He works out. He's a lovely human being. But I will say, I love him because he orders my sauce. He is one of my best customers. So as a matter of fact, this week I'm dropping off some sauce to him. And I do a drive-by. He comes down. I text him. He comes down, picks up the sauce, and keeps driving. So, and I did just recently put a post up on my wall. A lot of people thought I stopped doing sauce because there was a company I started during COVID because out of great necessity. But I'm still making sauce, and I can still get it to you, or you can come to where I work and pick it up for me. All right. So Gene Simpson Dunn. Let me tell you, last week's show, I watched it over a few times. It was so good. We focused on teachers and people that work with young people. And Gene is a director and teacher and does amazing, just artistic director, amazing things at her theater company in Illinois. So shout out to Gene Simpson Dunn and your husband this week. Type in the name of your husband's book. I know he had a book signing, Chris, done. So let's type that in. So if people want to order it, they can. And type in what the book is about. We should have Chris on some night, Christopher Dunn. Let's do that, Gene. Let's make that happen. Lori Towers, a historian, a radio personality, a press agent, amazing person, bass player also. A wonderful night with friends, she says, and a wonderful time for our country. Amen. And I'll tell you this. I mean, everybody knows what we lean, right? But I really, 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 and I mean this, want to come from a place of not bashing each other. I want to come from a place of us looking at things as a country and really, really trying to say, what do I feel in my heart? What are my visions for my country? And how can we do that as a group? Because I work with groups and I believe in groups, and we take group consciousness in my neck of the woods, the way we do things. So it's that group vote. And I do feel like most people want what's best. So that's which way I'm going. And of course, I have RBG in the background. That is not my painting. No, that's my girlfriend's painting. And she commissioned it. And I love it. It's beautiful. And you know, RBG is my girl. I have her on my wall, my Facebook wall. Leo, you already got a little cat that ate the canary look. What's happening?
Well, you know how Obama had his translator, remember the angry Obama, and it was a Key, or it was a Peel, Key and Peel, one of the two. I think it was Key, right? And he would be the angry Obama. So you be the nice Maria.
Oh.
And I'll be the angry Maria.
Well, you be the
I'll
angry
be the basher.
Okay, but I mean, what I think, and you're your own person, you're an adult. I understand. I've had so many conversations this week with people from the other side, and I'm starting to find that they don't hear us and we don't hear them. However, they really don't. But and we don't want to hear it either, right? Because I mean, you're not going to talk me into it. But I will say this: whatever side you lean on, I do believe this. Maybe just because I'm an optimist. I do believe that most people in their heart of hearts want a happy country,
Mm-hmm.
I do. And I believe most people want to stay out of war. And I believe most people don't want their kids to be enlisted for foolishness like Vietnam and all that. I believe that most people love their kids, love their country, love their parents. I do. So I am trying to put out into the universe, and I think Danielle of Danielle Alexandria Alchemy will back me on this, because I see a lot of her amazing posts about positivity. That's where I'm at right now. That doesn't mean I'll be out there some other day. But so anyway, Leo, I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, I live in a smaller town.
Okay.
And I pretty much have been quiet over the past couple of years, really. I mean, when we have our conversations, I do get a little heated. But usually I just venture away from the conversation because I think you'll find it. But now I'm done. They wanted a rest for positivity, and we were going to change the nation around, and they were going to talk positive. Didn't happen. So you know what? Sagittarian tongue Leo is now released.
Okay. And I hear you. But here's what I'm going to say.
Come at me.
They exposed themselves, didn't they? Listen, you know what my favorite kind of competition is? Where I don't have to do much. You kind of like trip yourself up. Sometimes you just have to set things up. That's all. I am so excited this week. I literally was so excited, and I feel happy and rejuvenated. And may I just say that no matter what you think of Joe Biden, I personally love him, but no matter what you think of him, I respect that he put his country first and said, look, as much as I'd like to do what I got to do, I'm not the right person right now. Maybe I am getting too old. And that's hard. That's hard. Right?
I can only imagine. I think a lot of people reacted. I was very not upset, but tears came because I knew what he was doing was taking his pride and he was putting it aside and saying, knowing that he could do it, knowing that he could put them in their place and continue to run the country like he's been doing.
Right.
But he took his pride and he said, and I think of my grandpa, I think of my grandpa,
Me too.
I think of those people, I think of my dad who's in his 80s and my
Yep.
mom who was in their 80s, and they still tell me what to do, so I know they can run a country. So
Right.
I feel that I feel for him. I
Yeah.
know that when you get older and maybe you're declining, that something like this kind of a heartbreak or heartfelt
Mhm.
move can speed up your decline. So those things, fathom in my head, whether they're true or not, whether they come true or not. I
Right,
hope
because
not.
you know why? Because you put yourself in that place as a son that has
Yeah.
aging parents. I do the same thing, and I also, as a person that is older than a lot of my friends now, I put myself in it. It's like it's hard to take yourself out of the game, right?
Right.
It's hard, but I'm a huge baseball fan. So when I look at something like this, I think some of the best pitchers and some of my favorite pitchers were pitchers that said they knew that it was time. When the coach came up to talk to them, they knew it was time to hand over the ball. And they had done everything they could to get them this far. Now someone comes in and finishes the game. And
Yep.
that's how you win, not just games, but World Series. So I'm
Mhm.
thinking like that. And I just have nothing but respect. And anybody that watches the show, whatever side you're on, I'm coming from a not bashing place. I'm coming from a place of, wouldn't it be great if we really were excited about being American again? And I don't mean using the flag as a weapon, using God as a weapon, using the excitement we have about our country to be the wind in our sails. That's really
Mhm.
where I'm at. And the
I
Olympics
would
are starting, and it's like that. Like when you watch America win, compete in the Olympics, it's like that, where we're all behind our country. Let's be like that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I would like to, but I would also like to say to the two congressmen, or one congresswoman, the one who beat out Cheney, and this other guy from, I think it was Arkansas, who called our almost soon to be um, candidate DEI hire.
Oh, I know.
You can sit right here and spin a couple of times. The immigrants in this country, as a native born person, let me remind you, a brown skin, are the people with the country accents that can go get in a boat and go back to Europe if you want to be that way.
Right.
Kamala's a citizen. We're all citizens. And if you
Right.
can't see that,
Well, she was
buddies,
born
get
here,
out of
wasn't she?
Congress.
She was born here.
Yep. So those people need to get out of Congress. We're not
Yeah,
hiring
but
for
listen, this is the way I look at it. They expose themselves when they say ridiculous things like that. You see their true colors.
yeah, but
see
you know
their
what we
true
do
colors.
with kids? We don't let kids say that. We don't say kids, oh, you just go aside. We say, no, that was wrong. If I need to Caesar Milan you,
They're not
senators,
listening.
you're
They're not
wrong.
listening. They're not listening.
Well, I
Anybody
feel
that
better
would
because I said my piece, like they
I
say
know
there.
anybody that would talk. I got you. Anybody that would talk like that to me is a fool. Like I actually started laughing today watching the news a lot. I started laughing. I thought, wow, you guys can't even contain yourselves anymore. But anyway, okay. So this show is about entertainment
Yeah.
and creativity. It's been a rough road the last couple of weeks, so we were venting. But it's about creativity. It's about taking the gifts that you have and using them. It's about getting to a higher place as an artist. And so that's what we're celebrating. Now, let's read some of the comments before we bring our beautiful guests on. Danielle says, Happy Tuesday, Leo, Maria, and what's the story with Maria family? Hello, Judy and RBG. Yep. A wonderful night with friends and a wonderful time for our country, says Lori Towers. John Pietero, it's a whole nother nation, baby. Yep. Favorite weekly hangout, says Danielle. Gene Simpson loved Chuck, our Mr. July. Rick Caritas says, Hi, Maria and Leo. And by the way, Rick was Mr. June. That's all I'm going to say. I think Rick was our Mr. June. Rick also has a book out. So there's Rick Sudi Caritas. We love him. He was our Mr. June. And he has a book. He's been doing a lot of book signings. And it's a great book. And I have it. Leo, if you have a picture of that at some point, you can pull that up. No hurry. Love the Ruth and Kamala posters in the background. Gene, this Tesla connection by, oh, okay. The name of Gene Simpson Dunn's husband's book. His name is Christopher Dunn. Is it Giza? Giza, The Tesla Connection by Christopher P. Dunn. Proud wife plug. You should be proud. Yes.
Yes.
You should be proud. So look that up. I would love to have Chris come on some night. Gene, maybe you could talk to him. You are his press agent, I'm sure. Groups are good, especially.
Yeah, don't read that part.
Oh, no. Okay. I won't. Yeah, I won't. I'll have to delete that comment. You know, we work with kids here. Okay, what have you been talking to the other side again? That's my job. Danielle, you're right. Oh, by the way, Danielle's Instagram page is experiencing some issues. So if you can't find her, don't worry. You can still find her website while that's the other thing is being repaired. And her website is Danielle Alexandria Alchemy. Danielle is a psychic, a spiritual medium, a healer. She's mind-blowingly good. Danielle and I have worked together many times. And she always blows my mind. So I am a huge fan of Danielle's, and as are a lot of people that I know. Okay. All right.
Let me lower. Can you fix that camera real fast? If anybody's out there, they can take a screenshot. Lower. You had it where you had the full picture of RBG and Kamala and the same thing, and that would be a great screenshot right there.
Okay,
yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Maybe I should.
Let's get that on TikTok.
Okay. Maybe I should lower this. All right, honey. Well, let's move ahead because now I'm moving.
Let's get the beat going.
Okay, that's good. There it is. All right. So, okay. Let me see. Anything else we missed? No. So, tonight my guest is someone that I'm extremely fond of, and in the best way. And you know, all this stuff brings your blood pressure through the roof, right? Mine anyway. But this person who's my friend brings my blood pressure down. He is a very calm person. He's a wonderful human being. He's immensely talented. He plays drums, bass, guitar, and he's great with the young people that we work with. We work together in road recovery. That's how we met. But he is doing a show this weekend, and I wanted to promo it, but I've wanted to have him on for a very long time. And I'll have him tell you about the show he's doing at a place called Umbra, if you say it in Italian. Christopher Root-Hines, my friend. There he is. Hi, honey.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Of course. It's our pleasure to have you. Okay, so I've asked you lots of times. I know we can't always connect on it. Our schedules are different, but so you and I work together at Road Recovery.
Yes.
You've been working with Road Recovery for what, like 4 years now? But 3 years?
Just about right when they reopened and restarted the program right after COVID is when I started.
Okay, and I came on, I think, right after
COVID. That whole COVID thing, it still has messed up my timing. I have no idea how many years have gone by.
It's true. It's true. Like I break things up now, pre-COVID, post-COVID.
Absolutely.
Right? It's like
that's where I'm at.
And I saw a picture recently, you know how like in Facebook, your like memories will come up. And it was like 4 years ago, and it was all this COVID stuff. And I couldn't believe, like I kind of have denial about it that we were ever there. It's weird.
Just listening to you guys before you brought me on, just talking about all the stuff going on, you know, in politics and whatnot, it kind of put me there. It's like, wow, you know, like I remember like doing this whole Zoom thing and like when the world was going crazy the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we're kind of back there. And I am really, really, really looking forward to being past November, like in a big way. And hopefully things will go the way they're supposed to go. Not hopefully, I feel very recharged today. But I just can't wait to stop talking about it and just go back to our lives. Right. And one of the distractions for me is definitely music. Like music is my favorite thing in the world. I don't know about you, but even as a kid, like it just always took me out of myself into a better place. It's like my favorite thing in the world. Now, you play lots of different instruments. What was the first instrument you picked up? And how old were you?
My first instrument was actually clarinet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't play it very long. But I got it, and It was the first thing.
It was like a school thing where they gave them
yeah,
out in school.
100%.
Okay.
It was the transition from elementary school into junior high is when you kind of like did that little test thing or whatever it was. I don't even know if they still do stuff like that, but
Depends on the funding in the schools.
there you go.
Some
Absolutely.
schools
Yeah,
I taught in
this
had
was,
no
this was
instrument.
back
Yeah.
in the time where public schools had music departments.
Yep, absolutely. I know.
So clarinet, and that didn't last very long, and then kind of got distracted, and I was a little bit more into like skateboarding and stuff for a little bit, and then I started playing drums when I was 14.
Wow. And did you have a full drum set right away, or did you build
No.
up to it?
No. I wasn't allowed to get a full drum set right away because I was like one of those kids that would get into something and then stop right away, and my
Right.
parents were like, no, you gotta like do the boring stuff for a while, show us you want to like continue this. And then the first drum set I got was $150 drum set I bought from my parents' friends that was like in an attic. It was like one of those kind of vibes.
Yeah, yeah. And did you teach yourself to play? Did you take lessons?
I took lessons. I took lessons right away. A very close friend of mine's mother was a professional musician, and she was in a band with this individual named Mickey Barnett. He was like a big time, like I think it's kind of like Elvis impersonator kind of thing, but it's kind of like a show tuney kind of guy, but cover band, but very specific that era of stuff. And I started taking lessons with the drummer in that band, and he was the drummer that played on Rock the Boat. That song,
Rock the boat, don't rock the boat, baby. Oh wow, how cool! That's
super
a very
random vibe. Like this guy.
Yeah, but that's a very specific drum beat, isn't it?
It's like a one drum beat the whole time. Yep.
I love that.
And
I
that was
love
like
that
the thing.
song.
He was like way into that. Like it was. His name's Mike Ciano, and I've tried to look him up, and I couldn't find anything. Like he has no online presence whatsoever. So I haven't been able to just to reach out to him. I don't even know if he still exists, but
Isn't that funny that you remembered? Like I always remember my teachers, and the ones that I liked, and not that I didn't like some, because I was always in trouble. So sometimes I got caught, and those teachers were not always my favorite.
the free will vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. And John Pietero is also a drummer. Our friend John, who's a DJ and a writer and a music historian. And he's a drummer as well. Now, so when did you pick up your other instruments? So you started off with the drums and you loved it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did it speak to you right away?
It did.
Yeah.
They did. It did.
Chris is a great drummer, by the way, and a cool cat drummer, like laid back. You're pretty chill, but
Yeah.
you play some great stuff, but you're pretty chill up there on the drums.
Right.
So now how did you get into the guitar and the bass and
I
all
think
that?
it was just like a gradual process of just like being interested in how things worked, and how the relationship between instruments, and even I was playing drums right away. I was still like heavily interested in theory. So I was tinkering around. Piano was my first other instrument because it was kind of like the easiest way to visualize music theory on an instrument. Like all the notes are right there. Like that's a C. You can find a C.
Yeah. And you play keyboard too, right?
It's definitely I navigate the keyboard a lot more theoretically than muscle memory or technique wise. So I'm sure anyone that really does play piano looks at me and is like, "What's going on there?" So it's an interesting process.
Yeah, but like when we teach and stuff, like Christopher can get on any instrument. This is what I love. Like we have a really good vibe where like we'll start to create a song with the kids. Maybe one of the kids starts a beat or something, and something or a hook line, and we'll get going. And I tend to lean towards lyrics and melody, and then Chris gets on and just starts playing whatever we're playing, and then he'll get on and play another thing, and then he'll get another kid playing the bass, and while he's playing the guitar, he's yelling out the chords, and the other kid is getting it, and then some other kid gets on the drums. It's really cool. We did some,
and then you get up there and you write some awesome lyrics, and you always have an amazing melody in your head too. Like you're melodic thought process is really amazing. See, I don't have that. I don't have the melodic stuff that you have.
And I don't have the instrument stuff that you have. I play a little guitar, but it's not.
Together, we are a beautiful.
We're a great team. We are a good balanced, nice balanced ticket, I think. So, but I think one of the things that works as a teacher, like when you co-teach, because teaching on your own is one thing. When you're co-teaching, I think a lot of it is kind of like knowing when to let the other person take it, and then when you take it, and then. So I think we have a really. I know we have a really good balance. I love that. I love the way we teach together. It's really a good balance. And we're going to be teaching together a lot this summer at the center.
I'm really excited about that.
That's going to be great because Susan and I usually teach together, but she is going to be in Edinburgh during doing her show, doing the Lavinia show for the month of August. So Christopher and I are going to be chilling out. It's going to be great. And now one of the things that I love about you as a teacher too is the way you will take one kid, usually it's a painfully shy kid, and you will just by repetition or teaching them certain things, like where you can teach them to play the bass or drums, and every week you build on it. Every week you build. And I've seen kids come out of their shell that didn't even talk, literally, become these like young adults that are enjoying playing instruments and they're having a wonderful time. So I wanted to tell everybody that Christopher is that kind of teacher, and I think
I really appreciate that.
Well, it's true, honey. Now you are doing something this weekend, and I saw it come up on Facebook, and I was like, "Oh, what's going on?" So tell us about your gig that's coming up.
Facebook.
Yep.
So, all right. So this is kind of a random thing. So a couple months ago, a friend of mine asked me if I could fill a slot at like one of the. He puts together a festival for Fleet Week.
Okay. Oh, cool.
In Staten Island. And years and years and years ago, way pre-COVID, I played these a couple of these a few years in a row. Anyway, he hit me up on Instagram and was like, "Do you have a band or anything that can fill this slot?" And I was like, "I don't really have a band, but I'm always working on stuff at the house and everything." So I figured out a way to take a bunch of these little things that I've been working on, throw them onto a sampler, and play drums along with it. So it's kind of like backing tracks that I'm creating as I'm playing. It's like a one-man band thing, but hopefully it looks a lot cooler than what people.
But you layered all kinds of stuff.
I'm sorry, say that again.
You layered. You're just layering, right? You
Absolutely,
created
yeah,
all of it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's this whole thing that where I'm just layering these things, and then I'm kind of playing drums against that stuff. Now, what happened was because I just started writing this stuff as fast as possible so I could fill this slot for this individual who asked me to do this show for him. This was back in May. So I had a bunch of things. I got 3 things done. So I just decided in July, I'm just going to kind of focus and just write as much as I possibly can write. And then I booked some studio time for September to record the drum parts to it. So I knew that I had to get all this stuff done. Now, in the process of doing that, a friend of mine hit me up on Instagram. Thank God for Instagram. And was like, "I'm working at this new venue, and we're doing this thing like an open jam night on Sundays, and we'd love if you came and hosted, and you can. So basically, you'll play whatever it is you do. Like for me, it's just going to be doing that solo thing." And then we'll open it up for an open jam for the rest of the nights from 8 to 11.
Cool.
So from 8 to 8:30, I'm going to kind of like audition, try out some of these tunes that I'm working on.
Okay.
And then from 8:30 to 11, anyone can get up and play.
So it's kind of like you're setting the stage for like, this is what I'm working on, and I'm showcasing it.
It's kind of like, for like lack of a better, it's kind of like an open mic night. But instead of me being a singer-songwriter and then inviting other singer-songwriters, it's me doing some like improvised instrumental music and then inviting other people to be a part of the improvised instrumental world.
I love that.
Spoken word too, like
spoken word too. And what's the name of the club? Let's show that again. I'm sorry, Leo. And tell us the name of the group, the name of the club, and how we can get there.
So it's Umbra,
Yep.
and it's in Bushwick.
Okay,
Brooklyn?
great.
It's I can't read
I think it's Bank Street or
7.
oh,
The address
you,
is on my flyer. It's really
yeah,
neat to
we'll
me as
find
well.
it.
I've
It's
never
you.
even been there. I'm gonna check it out.
You can go to their website, Umbra, Brooklyn.com.
Yep, and they have an Instagram page too. That is, let me look that up.
And it's an open mic. So you could, you know, if you're an instrumentalist and you want to get up and you can do some stuff from 8:30 to 11 as well.
Yep, it's 785 Hart Street
Okay.
in Bushwick.
And Hart is Hart.
Yep.
Okay, so another thing that you do is you work in the studio quite a bit, right? You're someone that enjoys studio work.
Yeah, so that's pretty much like where 80% of my actual music career world is. I don't usually get to do a lot of like personal creative stuff for a living. That's the fun side of this. Everything else is like I'm hired to play drums on other people's records.
Now, speaking of which, with Road Recovery, one of the things that we do it depends on the group we're working with and the kids we're working with and the grant that we get. Sometimes certain people like Mick Fleetwood actually has been very generous and helped us out with recordings and even played, I think, on one or two of our recordings. We had a wonderful artist named Roxini, up and coming artist, Roxiny, that came into class with us and we wrote a song together. And then Christopher's the kind of guy that you'll send him like something we record in class. That's literally like bare bones, like, you know, just a melody we're singing into a tape recorder as a group, and you send it to Chris and he'll be like, oh, okay, I got this. And then he'll create a bass line. Then he'll create another line with like a keyboard. Then he'll create a drum track. And then he goes in and records. And he'll do all that studio stuff so that when we go in as with the kids and as vocalists, it's written. It's like when we write these original songs. So that's something that I've called Chris Chris, what key was that thing? And he can remember it, or I'll say, Chris, this sounds different than when we wrote it. And he's like, that's because the key's different and we changed a few things. He's that guy. He's that that guy that keeps that mental musician that can remember all of that stuff. And I am so grateful for you. But because of you, I've started writing down all the keys and chords. I'll say to Chris, what are the chords you just used? So that I can write them down so we can remember.
I'm just really happy that I've convinced you that, or I've tricked you into thinking that I have a good memory. This is where like the whole like theoretical side of like of how when I dove into music theory was because my memory is actually really bad. So I have to rely on these.
Well, you made me a better teacher because of it.
Kind of little things.
You made me a better teacher and a better, the way I document stuff now, you know, when we're in class, like, and I do it with Susie too. Like Susie will be talking to the class and I'll be writing. And I do that with you too now. Like, I'm like, I have to, it's made me follow up, you know, anybody that's out there, that's whether you teach, whether you run groups, whatever you do, you're a coach, maybe you realize that if you don't write things down, from week to week to week, there's no way to contain it all in your brain. There's just no way. So I learned that the hard way. You know, somebody will say, what did we do? What was that thing we did last week? And I'll be like, So Susan tends to record a lot. She's one of these people that will record something we do on the phone. And I've learned to do that as well. And then because of you, I've documented chords and things like that. So whatever business you're in, musicians, we're funny people because we're creatives and we kind of go off and we get lost in something. And we're not always the administrative side of it, right? Like that part of our brain doesn't always say, oh, I should write this down. So
battle for me.
Well, yeah, me too. But I will say, and I'm not just saying it because you're here, musicians are my favorite people on earth. I just find musicians to be the coolest cats out there. It's like we're just chill. Speaking of which, Lynn Portis Genius has joined us. She is my best friend and musical director. And I just, we used to joke about actors versus musicians, and I'll take a musician over an actor any day of the week. So now, growing up, Chris,
Yeah.
what was like some of the things that did you listen to like lots of different kinds of music? Or were you someone that tended to be, were you a rocker guy? Were you a jazz guy? Did you change as you got older?
Yeah, definitely. It kind of all changed. My mom went to Woodstock and was like a real hippie, and like so I was like heavily exposed to like the '60s political music scene, the Beatles, and it wasn't just entertainment. It was an exposure of it of like this is a lifestyle. Like this is like these people aren't just writing songs. These people are doing things to change things. It was that pretty much from day one. So this, even though stylistically, I started to gravitate towards different styles. It was always the same energy, you know.
Yeah, I love that.
It was always that same. That there was no real boundary. Like there was no, I guess, borders. It all kind of bled together.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel that way with instruments as well. That's another reason why I am interested in playing so many instruments, because I kind of see that they're all kind of like intertwined. Like, so some of the physical movements and the muscle memory is different, but it's all in the same room, all of it.
Yeah, I love that. And earlier on, we were also talking about like, we both have this in common, is as you go along in life, you kind of start experiencing music differently, even though we've been doing it since we were teenagers, right? But it changes. Like my relationship with music has changed over the years as my relationship with myself has changed over the years.
That's a beautiful, beautiful observation.
Do you feel that as well?
100%.
Yeah.
And like in a way, I was speaking to my studio partner, actually, the individual I share my studio with. He's Colombian, and he spoke a lot of his, most of his early life was just in Spanish. Now he's been living in America for 30 years, and he has this a huge difference of like, as a child, and language and words in Spanish remind him of childhood things because he didn't know the name of it in English as a child.
Right.
So that, and I feel like music does that same thing.
Wow.
Where it's like you hear a melody or something from when you were a kid. It's like, even though you're different now, it's still bringing you to that place of like, wow, I only know that from that.
Right.
And like all this new experiences that I've had, I can still go back to that, to this purity of this one place of like something simple of just like a melody or a scent or.
Well, you know what? It's funny that you should say that, because it just got me thinking. There are three things that I think evoke memory. Like, for instance, let's say you want to write about a time past that happened to you or someone else, and you want to recall those things. Your senses have instant recall, right? So sound, like music, for sure, 100%. If I play, like for me, a big album for me growing up, that really brought me out of my shell was Yellow Brick Road by Elton John. Like that was one of those albums that I opened up. It was a double album, a lot of Elton John. I was a huge Elton John kid. And I would and Stevie Wonder, Elton John and Stevie Wonder, anything they put out, I stood in line, because you had to stand in line the album got released that day, and you stood in line for hours.
Yep.
And then the album came out. Sometimes people would be there, and they would sign. Not those two, my two favorites.
Sometimes they released them at midnight the night before. Do you remember that, when they would just open for the midnight release?
Oh my God!
Tower Records. It'd be like you go into Tower Records at midnight, and then they would close, but they would open just for the release. His records came out on Tuesday.
And it was incredible. So that was like a big thing. And then albums, we used to play them, and we read every single thing that was written in there. So you got to know musicians as well. And you would read who played what on what song.
Right.
And you got to see the correlation. Like, oh, wait a minute. That guy played with Prince too. Or that guy played, you know what I mean? You would see certain things like that. And it was incredible. And so music evokes a lot of that. Like also Carole King albums like Tapestry brings me right back to being 13. Like for me, because, you know, my age group. And certain albums. And then smells for sure. Like you could smell something and be like, that's lavender. That reminds me of like, and food. Like food completely will bring you back to like a memory and all that stuff. So I am going to take this moment. I normally cook for my shows, but tonight I'm at Judy's, so I didn't cook. Judy usually does the cooking here. So tonight, what do we have? Judy made it, not me. So we have a pasta dish that has garlic, mushrooms, eggplant. She sauteed eggplant and shallots and a bunch of different herbs and basil and some cheese and tomato sauce. And she used fusilli. So this is delicious. I'm not going to eat it tonight because I'm back on my keto, which is very sad. I'm very sad. Chris knows because I either in class I'm eating so much junk and then I bring junk to class, or I'm on the keto and I bring my keto snacks and I'm sad as sad can be. But I'm going back on the keto this week because I have a wedding coming up and I got to fit into my clothes for this wedding. So anyway, but doesn't that look beautiful? And it is delicious. And Chris, you've had some of my marinara, right?
I did.
You've enjoyed it. And you're a vegetarian, right?
I am.
How long have you been a vegetarian?
Well, I was a vegetarian for like 14 years when I was younger. My mom, she became into Buddhism and there was just no meat anymore.
I love that.
Yeah, and so I started eating meat again when I was in Japan. I was in Kobe, and I was like, I'm eating Kobe beef.
Right.
And, but I stopped again about 5 years ago.
Is your girlfriend a vegetarian?
No.
That's interesting.
She eats everything.
That's cool. I didn't know that. So I'll have to bring her a bolognese and I'll bring you a marinara next time.
I love that.
Yeah, let's do that. Also, I got double chocolate cookies at Whole Foods. They are keto double chocolate. So this is a good thing. I try to find keto snacks all the time because, and you know, if you're not
what makes a cookie a keto cookie? Well,
the thing with keto is it's kind of like a diabetic's diet. And that's another reason why I have to kind of keep going back on it because I am a borderline diabetic. So what you can have, I know you're making that face. I'll go back to regular food in a few weeks after the wedding. August 3rd, my friends Shannon and Roberta are getting married. And so I'm going to that wedding. I know you're making that face.
I know, but tell them about the cookie. This is why I'm frowning, because tell them the process of this big cookie. I mean, this keto cookie.
So keto, anything, you can't have flour, rice, pasta, sugar. All the favorite things that you love, right? So it's, bread, rice, pasta, sugar. So this is made without flour. And it does have eggs in it, they no sugar, so it's probably like, stuff like that. It's still good, but it's not like you wouldn't choose it. You wouldn't be like,
like a gluten-free.
Gluten-free,
yeah,
yes,
gluten-free.
exactly.
It's like an almond flour or a nut flour usually, which is
not
I
a vegan
can have
cookie,
it.
but it's a gluten-free cookie. Yeah.
Right, but that's why Leo's
Right.
upset because he's allergic to nuts.
To nuts.
Almonds.
That's usually almond flour or something like that.
So he can't have it. And so that's the
Oreos
thing.
are vegan. Oh, but they're not gluten free. Sorry.
Right, they're not gluten. Listen, if it was up to me, I'd be eating like pizza and cookies and Chinese food every day. And chips. Remember, Chris, I used to bring bags and bags of chips.
I do remember that.
And sometimes Fritos. Right, because I was like, and I would say to Chris and the kids, please eat these, because otherwise I'll eat them.
And I would.
Yeah, I'm that teacher that brings snacks to class. It's bad. It's like really to get them out of my way. But, it's a good way to catch attention. John Pietero says Umbra was the name of an amazing Black liberation poet a poets collective in the early 60s. I wonder if John is an amazing musician, and as his wife Lori, and they are also poets. So John, maybe what night is it? Is it this Sunday?
It's Sunday the 28th.
Sunday the 28th. John, if you're in the neighborhood, because John lives in Brooklyn, maybe go and check out the open mic. Maybe get up and do a song. A poem. John's an amazing poet. I have a couple of his
Come on
books.
through.
Come on through. John is right.
Put some cool
The
music.
menu looked great.
And the menu. Oh, they have a menu. Leo, what are some of the things
Yeah,
on the menu that you noticed?
There was a pork dish that I thought I saw.
You love that.
Hold on, I'll bring it up
Right
right
up
now.
your alley.
Yeah. And it's in Bushwick. I love that it's in Bushwick. That's where I
Bushwick
was
is-
living.
That's right. Leo was living there for a while. I never lived out that far. I lived in Staten Island for a while. I lived in the beginning part where Brooklyn and Manhattan kind of like Park Slopey for about a couple of months. But I ended up coming uptown. But Brooklyn is really cool. It's very different than it used to be. Very,
There it
very.
is.
Oh,
Roast
that
pork
looks.
butt.
Oh, you love that stuff. That's right up your alley,
yeah.
Leo.
And they did
Right.
it with the Dijon, the lime, garlic,
Oh, that sounds good.
pickled red cabbage. Sounds like a great taco.
That almost sounds Cuban. My girlfriend's
Mhm.
mother makes something like that.
Like
It's
a pernil
delicious.
almost.
Yes, spicy cucumbers. Oh, this sounds good. Yeah, Brooklyn's really cool. So that's what's happening this Sunday from 8 to 8:30. It's just Christopher. And then from 8:30 to 11, it's an open mic. So go and check out Chris and stick around. And if you want to be part of it, you can be part of the open mic. Christopher Root Hines, my friend. There he is, a musician of all things. And you, and also, I love when my worlds like, not collide. I won't say that because collide is a bad thing, but when they overlap. So I was playing one night with my friend Elliot Roth, who I adore. And he said, "Oh yeah, I'm working with such a cool drummer. His name is Chris." And I was like, "He's like Chris Hines," and it ended up being the same Chris Hines. So Elliot Roth and Chris Hines worked together quite a bit. And then, as a matter of fact, you remember James Jackson Jr. that we had on, Leo?
Yeah. Yes.
So
I just saw the pictures. They were together. They all played together, right?
they all played together. So it was Christopher, Elliot, and James Jackson Jr.
Oh,
who
well,
we love.
Christopher in Christopher's friends list, there is an outside group. I have a lot of mutual friends, right? You and Susie and Darius, but also Kurt Applegate. Christopher, do you recall Kurt Applegate?
I do. I know him through
harder music.
He's a musician. What does he play, Leo?
I believe he plays guitar, like a really hard, like punk or hard rock band. We worked together in the restaurants.
Wow,
And
isn't that crazy?
Yeah, small world.
It's very small world. All right, so Chris, let me ask you then. We were talking about food. Going back to food for a minute. What is something that you would say, like I'm terrible. I'm such a junk food junkie. But what would you say is your like go-to for like comfort food? Like where you're like either stress eating or you're like, oh man, I had a rough day. I'm gonna have a blank.
probably eggplant parm. Parmesan.
Oh,
Ooh.
I love it.
well, when's your birthday?
February 7th.
I'm gonna make you some eggplant parmesan for your birthday.
All right.
I love eggplant parm. So you and Charlotte will have to come over. I love
That's
but I don't
literally
make it
probably my
often.
favorite food.
That's a great food. That is, as a matter of fact, there's eggplant in here, and that's one of the reasons I did eat the vegetable part of it. I love eggplant. I think it's so underrated, and so many different cultures use it. Like I love bab ganoush, like with Greek restaurants. That is
Yeah,
incredible.
every version of it, every version of eggplant, I'm all about.
So good, right? Yeah, me too. All right, now I know what I'm making you for your birthday, but I might not.
Lucky.
I know I might not wait till your birthday. I might have to make it before that. I don't know. And by the way, so again, I will reiterate that Christopher and his beautiful girlfriend Charlotte are going to be Mr. and Mrs. August
Oh my
2025.
goodness.
2025. They're going to
We're
be.
very excited about this.
I am very excited. Well, John and Lori were our husband and wife team or couple team that did. They were Mr. and Mrs. November of 2023, right? Yes.
Yep.
So, and then Lauren and her fiance are Mr. and Mrs. August. They're coming up next month, Lauren and Robert. So this is like a cool thing. They're Mr. and Mrs. August. There they are.
Yeah, I want to get a picture of this because I got to show Charlotte.
Yeah, they're just, but they sent me so many funny pictures. But this was the one we went with. They sent me some really funny. They're both, well, he's a real goofball, Robert. That's what I love about him. But they sent me some really funny pictures. But this is the one we went with. And then, do we have another couple, Leo? I can't remember. No, I think that's it. I think Lori and John.
Let me go into my library of calendars here.
I see.
Wow, how many years? How many years of calendars do you have?
So this is our third year. So we started in
Okay.
2022, and then this is 2024, and your will be our fourth, yeah, 2025. What?
Does Elliot and Bacon count?
Oh, I know. Oh, Elliot, who you know, Elliot Roth was Mr. April 2022, right?
This is
No,
how this whole,
2023.
this is how this whole thing came up with me texting you to ask you if I could please be in your calendar. He was showing me his.
Oh,
Like, oh my God, I gotta see.
Did you see Susie's? She was Miss June last year. Oh, there's Elliot and Bacon. There is Elliot and Bacon. Oh my
We
God.
had the boys, Andrew and Thomas. Oh, of course.
Oh, right, Dave Foley Jr.
The Fit Foleys.
And his beautiful wife.
The Fit Foleys.
The Fit Foleys. Oh my God.
That's what we were calling them.
By the way, David Foley Jr. is on tour with Funny Girl. Oh, there's Lori and John, Mr. and Mrs. November 2023, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that is, and they had they're musicians, so they had all the way they art directed. They had all their instruments and some bourbons, and it was like they went all out with the art direction. Oh my God! And right, so this is Joshua Bennett and Sarah Glassman. She is a piano player, and he is a drummer, and they're best friends. And they play at
Very
the town.
cheeky, aren't they?
Very cheeky. That was March 2023. No, 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And there's
Rick.
Rick Studio Carriers. That's so a lot of our listeners are part of the calendar. So you and Charlotte are going to be Mr. and Mrs. August 2025.
And we got Zach and Braley coming up as
Very
well.
excited.
That's right. Zach and Braley are part. Oh, I know. There's so many hot people.
It's already hot in California. What
So
am I
we're
doing?
looking
Stop.
forward to it. Okay. I love that. My cousin Rena Crinali-Bergi, who has joined us, says, I love eggplant parmesan too. You know what, Rena? I might have to make a big batch and give some to Christopher and then bring some home to Boston.
Wait, is it a sequel?
A sequel?
Yeah, egg parmesan too.
Might have to be. It might have to be. I do love it.
Prequel. It's eggplant parmesan 2 is the first one.
Oh, right. I love that. See, that's really flipping it. That's making
Nice.
it something else. Oh my God. Yes, I love that. We all love being in scanties for you. Listen, my sister always says only you could get people to take their clothes off for no money. I said, I do not force people. Like Christopher, for instance, came to me and said, hey, how do I get to be in your calendar? I said, you just have to volunteer. You know, Leo, you were in the calendar. You were Mr. August.
Mm-hmm.
The first
Leo's,
year.
Yep.
Oh
Yep.
my God.
I had a
Right.
nip slip.
Yep. What do they call that?
Wardrobe malfunction.
Wardrobe malfunction, right.
That's right.
Oh my
But
God.
I didn't have a Timberlake behind me.
No, you did not. You did not. All right. So we're coming to the end of our show. The hours fly by. So now, Chris, I always ask all my creative people to leave the group with something And Leo, we'll ask you too. Actually, maybe we'll start with Leo. But what I always like to leave, because our listeners and viewers are also creative people. And sometimes we get into these places where you hit a wall, or you feel like, why do I bother with this stuff? Or whatever it is, our challenges in being creative. What would you say, words of inspiration for someone that needs a little uplifting creatively in your experience in life? What has worked for you? Leo, you go first.
Patience with yourself.
Patience with
it
yourself.
doesn't always come, and you don't want to force it. When you force it, you go back and you like rework it 3 or 4 times until it's the right thing. So don't force yourself.
I love that. And I'm going to say something a little bit different for me. I'm going to say deadlines. For me, recently, deadlines work really well, because I will kind of lollygag with an idea for a long time. But if someone says, oh, we booked studio space, oh shit, then I have to get it done. Or if if I'm booked in a show I have to do, and they're like, it's new songs, I have to write that new song. So this year, that has kind of been my thing. Other years, it just kind of flows. This year, I've been a little bit lazy about writing. So what works for me the best this year, I found, was deadlines, expectations of others. What do you think, Chris?
Actually, I mean, this has been a topic that I've been dealing with, because I've kind of just put myself in a position to get a lot of stuff done before I have to go into the studio in September. And I'm going to kind of cheat here. And there's this great Picasso quote that I heard. And it says, inspiration exists, but it has to find you working.
Oh.
And I was like, wow,
Ooh.
All right, I really get that. Because it's like, just start something. Don't put any pressure on yourself, but just start. Just whatever it is, just start it.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, once you get past that beginning part, it's almost like uncorking something, right? Then it just flows, but you have to open it. You have to open it first. You're right. I love that. It has to find you working. That's really good.
That's kind of a mix. That's kind of a remix of what we were like, our ends.
Yeah.
And he pulled it together with that Picasso.
I know. It's true though. And I lots of times if I'm writing, let's say I'm writing lyrics, not music as much, because music is different. Like if I'm just get on the piano, or if my guitar, like I just pick up my guitar. But I find that if, like with lyrics, sometimes I play something that inspires me. Like lots of times I'll play someone else's music, and all of a sudden I'm in the zone and I feel good, like whatever it is. Or someone takes a song and plays it differently. Like Bob Dylan's "You're Gonna Make Me Lonesome When You Go." I when he does it, I could care less. But then I heard Miley Cyrus redo it, and she did it not completely different, but it was the way she did it. She had this great slide guitar player, and all of a sudden when I played that, it made me want to write something else, because I was like, that's really, really good. I want to write something completely in that vein. So I find listening to other artists, especially Unplugged, really moves me. That kind of
Chris,
thing.
are you a music person first, or are you a lyric person first? What comes?
Definitely music person. Lyrics are not my. I'm not a real words person, as you can tell.
But you're very smart.
It took me 10 minutes to answer that.
No, you're super smart. He and I have the most amazing conversations. Yeah. You know what? We've talked about this before, and I'm going to challenge us, Chris, since we're going to say it in front of other people now.
All right.
We need to write something together.
Okay.
I think that's the way to go. That'll be a good project, and I think that you and I need to write a song and record it in the studio.
I totally agree.
Okay. That's it. Leo in front of God, RBG, and Leo Rodriguez. We've now said it.
It's out
about millions of people who are watching us.
Yes. So
all of you.
we want to remind you that you can find us on YouTube. What's the Story with Maria? This is episode what number, Leo?
We
361?
are 358.
358. Beautiful. So 358. You can find us on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel with all our shows. And we are in podcast up until about April on Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio under What's the Story with Maria. We are rejoining that. We may start. Leo and I might plug ourselves in a. We'll let you know about it.
It's in progress. We did get another email. They're working on our case right now. So
okay. So what we're trying to do is reconnect our podcast to our stream of podcasts, but we're no longer with Arms Radio, and we've gone off on our own, which is a great thing. And yes, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. So we want to upload our shows, and we were trying to stay consistent, but you can find all our episodes. So probably about until maybe 340 or something.
In April, the first couple of weeks of April.
Yeah, the first 6.5 years you can find. And then
that means you've got 6.5 years to go through if you're just catching up with us.
Yeah, on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, or Spotify. And then we're going to keep uploading our shows. So this show will also be in podcast. We want to thank everybody that listens every week, all our people that come back week after week. Thank you so much. Good luck to everybody. And what we're just going to keep our fingers crossed and stay positive. And I'm trying not to get in arguments with people. I'm trying to inspire. But I also, you know what? You got to choose your battles. You got to know when to walk away. That's it. Got to know when to walk away. Sometimes
you're right.
For me.
Yeah. If you're going to bring it to me, though, don't expect me to be quiet.
Well, that's different. That's different if you're going to bring. But I have found sometimes it's just. And anyway, so we will remind you that it's Sunday or Saturday, your show? Sunday from 8 to 8:30 at Umbra is Christopher Hines. And then he opens it up to an open mic from 8:30 to about 11. So if you're at Umbra on that's 785 Hart Street in Brooklyn, Bushwick, please go and see Christopher and tell him we sent you. And that is our show. And I want to thank Leo, who runs all the behind the scenes and does our promos and then uploads our show and does all that stuff. I don't know where I'd be without you, Leo Rodriguez. Christopher Hines, my friend, my buddy, Christopher Root Hines.
Thank you.
I will see you at the center at the Road Recovery. We do all the shows. Like I'll post pictures of us a lot. We work on the shows together. And Christopher is so patient, and the kids love him, and he's a great guy.
Go check out. They've got a lot of stuff on roadrecovery.org. If you go look at the workshop, pictures of them everywhere. We didn't even get to it tonight. I had them lined up, but
I know
you guys all over the place with those kids.
Beautiful. Yes, Road Recovery. We do. I think we do good work. I'm very proud of us. And so go and check out Road Recovery. And like I said, it's a nonprofit. So if you are someone that is inclined to want to donate, please go ahead. Also, instruments. If you want to donate instruments, that happens. The more clubhouses we get, we always need instruments. So let's say you might be someone that has a lot of stuff, old instruments in the attic or the closet, or you're like, you know what, I need to downsize. We'll take a bass. We'll take a guitar. We'll take maracas. We'll take a maraca. Whatever you got, send it our way. Yes, and music in schools. Let's continue to hope that they put music back in schools, because they did take a lot of stuff out over the years, and we need to put all that stuff back in. And support the arts in your community, whichever way is most comfortable for you. Just remember, we're here every Tuesday, 9 to 10. We love and appreciate you. And good night.
Good night, everybody.